$1. That is what a bottle of Berberine costs at Walmart. It does not just manage your blood sugar. It does not just help with glucose levels. It permanently eliminates the condition that 46 million Americans are paying $9,600 a year to control. Ozempic costs $1,027 per injection pen. Berberine flips the same molecular switch for 30 cents a day. 3,000 years ago, a physician in ancient China watched a dying man's urine slow and his vision return after drinking yellow root bark tea. You have been to the endocrinologist. You have waited 3 months for the appointment. You have handed over the copay, read the side effects, and watched the number on your meter barely move. A 2008 clinical trial published in Metabolism tested Berberine head-to-head against metformin. The result was identical. The diabetes drug market generates $33 billion a year. They did not stop using it because it failed. They stopped talking about it because it worked too well. This is the story of Berberine and the industry that buried it. The diabetes drug industry generates $33 billion a year in the United States alone. It is projected to hit $100 billion by 2034. Novo Nordisk, the maker of Ozempic, reported $14 billion in revenue from a single drug in a single year. Their entire business model depends on weekly injections that never stop. A permanent $1 solution is not a product they can sell. It is a product they must bury. And what you are about to hear is the reason they needed you to never find out. In the next 10 minutes, you're going to learn the exact molecular reason this works, the specific dose that changes everything, and the step-by-step protocol that costs 30 cents a day instead of $1,200 a month. Stay until the end. Step 3 is the one that separates results from frustration. Welcome to the vault. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the only way to make sure you see it. Here we open the ones the industry thought were sealed forever. Now, let me take you back to where this all begins. A physician kneels beside a dying man in ancient China. The patient has been wasting for months. He urinates constantly. His vision is failing. The physician reaches for a bright yellow root bark called huanglian, grinds it into a tea, and places it against the man's lips. Within days, the wasting slows and the urine stops. This was recorded in the Shén Nóng Běncǎo Jīng, the Divine Farmer's Classic, over 3,000 years ago. 6,000 miles west, Ayurvedic practitioners in India reach for the same plant for the same condition they call madhumeha, honey urine. 2 civilizations, 2 continents, the same conclusion. That is not tradition, that is evidence, so consistent that the convergence itself becomes the proof. But here is where the story takes a very dark turn. A young chemist named Huttenschmidt walks into his laboratory in 1824 carrying bark from a Jamaican tree. He crushes it. A bright yellow powder falls into his dish. He calls it Jamaican. He does not know what he is holding. He does not know that this powder will one day match the most prescribed diabetes drug on earth in a head-to-head clinical trial. He files his notes and moves on. 6 years later, Buchner and Herberger extract the same yellow compound from European barberry. They name it Berberine. For the first time in 3,000 years, a remedy that saved lives on 2 continents has a molecular identity. And what happens next should make you furious. Nothing. For over a century, Berberine gathers dust on a shelf. No one funds a trial. No one writes a prescription. The pharmaceutical industry builds a $33 billion empire around synthetic drugs for the same condition, while a compound with a known molecular identity sits in silence. Then, in 2008, 3 researchers in China, Yin, Xing, and Ye, do what no Western institution had done in 2 centuries. They put Berberine in a clinical trial against metformin, head-to-head, same patients, same timeline, and the results shook the foundation of everything the diabetes drug industry had built. But that is not the worst part. The worst part is what happened after. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part that costs the industry $33 billion if it goes mainstream. Inside every cell of your body sits a molecular switch called AMPK. Think of it as the master control panel for energy. When AMPK activates, your cells pull glucose out of your bloodstream and burn it for fuel. Insulin sensitivity improves, fat storage reverses, blood sugar drops. AMPK is the reason exercise lowers blood sugar. It is the reason fasting works. It is the exact mechanism that metformin, the most prescribed diabetes drug in the world, uses. Here is where the math gets devastating. Berberine activates the same AMPK switch, and then it does something metformin cannot. A 2023 study in Frontiers in Pharmacology proved berberine activates a second pathway, lysosomal AMPK, that metformin does not touch. It reaches deeper into the cell. The 2008 Yin study tested 36 newly diagnosed type 2 diabetics for 3 months, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Berberine reduced HbA1c from 9.5 to 7.5%, a 2% drop. Metformin produced the same number. A meta-analysis of 46 randomized trials, 3,000 patients, confirmed it. You now possess the same molecular proof that the industry's been sitting on since 2008. And that is exactly why they cannot afford for you to know this. Now here is the part that should make your blood boil. You cannot patent berberine. United States patent law, confirmed by the Supreme Court, says you cannot monopolize a substance that exists in nature. You cannot patent it. You cannot create a subscription model for it. And what cannot be patented cannot generate recurring revenue. Novo Nordisk charges $1,027 for a single Ozempic pen. Their model requires you to inject every week for the rest of your life. Berberine costs 30 cents a day, no prescription, no injection, no monthly refill to keep a stock price climbing. In 2020, the FDA sent a warning letter to BioNutrition Incorporated for marketing berberine with blood sugar claims. Not because the claims were false, because the supplement company was saying out loud what the industry needed to remain unsaid. A permanent 30-cent solution is not a revenue model. A 30-cent solution is an existential threat. The industry's answer is not to use berberine, it is to engineer around it. NNB Nutrition created a patented derivative called Glucovantage, and it is marketed as Super Berberine, modified just enough to file a patent. The price doubles. Indina sells berberine phytosome at $55 a month instead of $18 a month. The chemistry is identical. Berberine does not read the packaging. Your AMPK enzyme certainly does not. If you have made it this far, you already know more about berberine than 99% of the people paying $1,000 a month for Ozempic. Subscribe and share this with one person managing diabetes with a monthly injection. Every share is one more person who gets to run the numbers. Step 1. Buy berberine HCl capsules, 500 milligrams. Walmart, Amazon, GNC. Look for USP or NSF certification. Consumer Lab found many budget brands contain less than half the labeled dose, $18 to $35 a month. Step 2. Take 500 milligrams twice a day with meals, breakfast, and dinner. Berberine intercepts glucose as it enters your bloodstream from digestion. An empty stomach wastes the effect. Step 3. This is the step that separates results from frustration. Start at 250 milligrams for the first week. 34% of clinical trial participants got stomach discomfort at full dose on day 1. Your gut needs 7 to 10 days to adjust. Most people who quit berberine quit in week 1 because they skipped this step. Step 4. Track your fasting glucose every morning for 30 days. If you're on metformin or any diabetes medication, do not combine without telling your doctor because the combination can drop blood sugar dangerously low. Step 5. Reassess at 30 days. Full effect comes at 90, but the trajectory is clear at 30. 30 cents a day versus $1,200 a month. This will not work for type 1 diabetes. Berberine affects insulin sensitivity. It does not replace insulin production. If you're taking blood thinners or cyclosporin, talk to your doctor first. A mechanic in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 53 years old, type 2 diabetic for 11 years, metformin twice a day, then metformin plus glipizide. Then his doctor started talking about insulin injections, $16,000 a year. His wife found a video about berberine on a Tuesday night. He started the next morning. 30 days later, his fasting glucose dropped from 187 to 119. 90 days later, his doctor reduced his metformin for the first time in a decade. $22 a month. The answer was on the supplement shelf the entire time. 3,000 years ago, a physician in China placed yellow root bark against a dying man's lips. In 1830, 2 German chemists gave it a name. In 2008, 3 researchers proved it matched the most prescribed diabetes drug on Earth. And in 2026, 46 million Americans are still paying $9,600 a year because no one can patent a plant. The knowledge was never lost. It was repriced out of your awareness. Berberine does not expire. AMPK does not check insurance. A plant that has been growing for 3,000 years has never charged a licensing fee. Your grandmother knew about this. She did not need a prescription. She did not need a monthly plan. She did not need a pharmaceutical company's permission to control her own blood sugar. Every like pushes this past the algorithm that buries it. Every share puts this back in the hands of someone still paying $1,000 a month for an injection they might not need. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside is going to make a different industry very nervous.